Hi everyone, and welcome to another EdTech session this afternoon. So this session is on using digital tools and inking in the wider curriculum, and we've got two speakers with us today. So we've got Bethany Shooter, who has taught with the Cornerstone Trust for the last 3 years and is a Microsoft Innovative Educator expert, and Bethany is passionate about the inclusion of technology in education and developing 21st century skills. So Beth is a member of our EdTech team here at Cornerstone, and she's been helping drive the latest initiatives in education technology across the Trust. We've also got Chloe Farron with us today, who's going to be speaking to you first. So Chloe is a lead teacher with 15 years of experience. She is an art specialist and she's the international lead here at Cornerstone, and she keeps our global links looking at how to integrate new technologies with our partner schools across the globe. As a primary teacher and a practicing artist herself, Chloe has led in the development and support and design here of the art curriculum. So she looks at the potential for using and integrating digital technologies within art and increasing pupil engagement within this. So today's session is going to look at what a broad and balanced curriculum can provide. So the skills, knowledge and understanding that children will need to develop into well-rounded individuals. So we're going to look at the ways that digital tools can support you in establishing and maintaining such a curriculum, and you'll be shown and given some hints and tips and tools in how to facilitate lesson planning and the delivery of these sessions. So I'm going to hand over to Chloe and she's going to talk you through.
Thank you, Vicky. That was a really nice introduction. I'm going to start off today in this section by talking more generally about the wider curriculum, and I'm going to give you an overview of the different sorts of approaches that we've used at Cornerstone Academy Trust to teaching these sorts of lessons, but in a virtual way and now a blended way. And also lots of the things that we talk about today can be applied also in general classroom practice as well. So I hope you'll find this information useful. The second half of the presentation will be done by Beth, and she's going to go in more deeply into digital linking and the different technologies. So first of all, the wider curriculum represents a substantial part of the educational experience, and it's fundamental in providing a quality education. So in primary schools, there's been a significant move away from focusing on the internal performance data, and schools have the responsibility for equipping their pupils with the skills and knowledge they need for success in the future. We help them to overcome any boundaries caused by social disadvantage, and we teach them how to build a deep web of knowledge that they can recall and draw on to make connections. Primary schools have the responsibility to teach a breadth of knowledge, and that's something that we talk about a lot. And in these changing times, particularly in the wake of the virus and the recent Black Lives Matter protests, we must revisit this and ensure that the children are able to learn about life, its challenges, its opportunities, and how to respond to successes and disappointments. The wider curriculum, and particularly creativity, which is something that I'm personally really passionate about, has come to its forefront in education. In these times, teachers have had to be creative in their approaches, and children have had to be creative in their responses. We're all being more resourceful. We look for new possibilities, and we're seeing what's really important. And lots of people have turned to creative activities for their own physical and mental well-being. As we look at the wider curriculum, children are now seeing the importance of science. In society, we look to the science for answers. That's something that we're hearing about all the time. And they're looking at global issues as they see images from across the world as we all face similar hardships. They reconsider culture and equality through the recent protests. And our pupils have learned about climate change as they see the difference in the environment during lockdown as wildlife return and the environment heals. When we look at technology, children are now looking at technology more as a tool than ever to learn from and to communicate and connect to the world outside their home. Teachers are pretty good at adapting to changing. And rather than looking back at what we've lost not being in the physical school environment, we've now been in this position where we consider new approaches moving forward. And there's more things than ever that we can use at our disposal. It's given us an opportunity to try new things, to question, reflect, and to take stock on where we are and where we need to be. Within Cornerstone Academy Trust, as a group of primary schools in Devon, with pupils attending from different cultural and economic backgrounds, we knew it was important to provide our families with structure and a routine to their child's learning. So with the closure of schools, at best for some children, there will have been a realisation that school is fallible and it will have been unnerving, but at worst, with the closure of schools, it would have left some lacking in positive experiences, routines, or even safety. So we understood the need for them to be this structure within their day, and this is something that we thought was really important that we offered our pupils through virtual learning. So here you can see up on the slide an example of what a typical day will have looked like, and you can see in the afternoons where it says break for lunch, in the afternoon it's all the wider curriculum they're taught. With the pupils and the staff at home, the class teachers have been engaging with their class using Microsoft Teams. And using Teams, the teachers and the pupils were able to access all of the Microsoft products within Office 365. And Teams chats were used for the messaging and the sharing of work, whilst OneNote pages acted as the landing ground for each of the classes. The lessons are really easy to navigate to and around as well. So long as the child had internet access and a usable device, they're able to access their lessons from home and communicate with their peers and teachers. So this is something that my colleague Beth is going to look at a little bit more deeply and talk you through some of these technologies. But I want to talk to you in terms of my position in the Trust as a specialist teacher and my role in teaching the wider curriculum in these afternoon sessions. So as the art lead, I taught, or have been teaching, whole key stage sessions in the afternoons. So I was faced with new challenges. So firstly, how would I be able to make my lessons accessible for all the children? And how would I structure them so that they're inclusive and supportive to all the learners of all differing ages and abilities? I also wanted to offer a breadth. If you see the afternoon sessions, there would be less sessions than there would be in a regular school day. So it's really important to teach the wider curriculum through those afternoon sessions and not just singular subjects. I knew that participation and engagement at home would render differing outcomes, and it would depend on the support the children got from home, their age and their economic background. With a new structure to the virtual day, there would be the less sessions. So thinking about making links and connections is really important. So I wanted to share with you my processes for planning and sharing these virtual lessons as I created them from home during the first part of lockdown, and lots of the different types of teaching practices that I was using, the methods I was using, I'm going to be implementing into my teaching as we return back to the physical school building. So firstly, from my point of view in art and design, but this also goes for all the other subjects as well, because we're not looking at them as singular subjects anymore, I split it down into 4 key areas. And this was to increase engagement, to be able to ensure a quality art provision, but I wanted to reflect and adapt to the new challenges we face. And I also wanted to include topics that were relevant to our learners and that stretched to the other subjects within the curriculum to ensure this quality provision that we're talking about. So I approached my subject less about the use and techniques of using specific equipment and resources, and more about the creative and active aspects of creating. So such as these 4 things: well-being, cultural understanding and representation, creativity, and links to artists, designers, and creative industries. So here I want to show you just an example of a typical sort of lesson that I would record and stream for the children. So just a little bit about that. The lessons I made would all be reduced down to one video link, and it would be shared on the Microsoft Teams channel within the daily timetables that I've shown you before. And advantages to pre-recorded lessons, which is the method that I decided to use as an art teacher, offered the opportunities that I could include short videos from the wealth of resources there is out there in the virtual world. I could use short videos, and also as an art teacher, I was able to pre-record sections that would normally take me a long time to demonstrate through time, and I could record them before the lesson and then speed it up so the children could see it in real time. So here you can see an example of a short.
The 17th century artist Judith Leyster worked at the same time as the
So
Dutch
this was a
master Frans
lesson
Hals.
where I was
Their works have a similar
opening the lesson talking about why we see so few women in art. So I was approaching art not just from looking at paintings, but what it says about the society that we live in and history. So a few things going on there. In the next example, you'll see how I do the sort of the speeded up example.
I might want to collage, cut a piece out and collage onto that square. It's totally up to you how you do it. Okay, so I'm going to start off on this one. I'm going to start off by drawing my pattern and see where that takes me.
So these produced sort of fun follow along videos that increased engagement and got the children at home inspired and wanting to complete the lesson. So I structured my lessons with two activities. So one was more of a creative, thinking about materials, what have you got at your disposal, what can you use? And the other was more of a technical, this is how you do something sort of activity. And that was to enable all learners to be able to join in. So these videos were all edited together as one link, like I said before, and then I uploaded it to ClickView. And we've also used Microsoft Stream for this as well to share the videos, which is the advantage that it's an internal system, so so everything's really safe for the children.
Material.
Okay, so last time I showed the video of me creating a lesson, and there was lots of questions about how did I manage to do that at home without the use of a visualizer. So that's something I wanted to show you here. I had the challenge of overcoming the hurdle of limited resources myself. So this is how I managed to do it using no complex or expensive equipment, but worked really effectively. So this is me at home videoing my lesson, and I'm only using my phone. And the equipment here that I've set up, it's a ring light with a tripod stand and a phone holder, sorry. And I purchased this for £20 on Amazon. So these things are quite easy to come by. It's just knowing what you're looking for. So I created the short video clips on my phone, and then I just edited them together using a free download of Microsoft Movie Maker on my device. So it was really simple and straightforward. When these links were given to the children, there would be teachers and myself on the Teams channels. So that way they would be able to complete the lesson, but the teachers are also there to give them feedback and respond to any questions they have. So on here, this is an example to show you how this communication happens. So you can see each class or year group has a creative arts channel, and you can see a child shared their work with me there. But this is a place where they can ask those questions and I can respond to the pupils. It was really useful for me as a teacher as well to see which lessons the children really engaged with, and whether I needed to adapt what I was doing for the future to really keep the participation up. And here's an example again on the screen of this is our science specialist teacher, and he's delivering a lesson to a whole key stage as well. But he's doing it in a slightly different way. He's using he's creating a live lesson using a Teams meeting. Which is something that can be done. He's delivered it. I think this was a live Teams meeting where it's presented in sort of a monologue style, but you're still able to share your screen and you're able to digital link, and there is a chat section where the children can ask questions and you can respond. In a Teams meeting, there's also a raise your hand feature where the learner can click to indicate that they wish to participate. Our teachers made sure they recorded all of their live lessons, and these recordings were then made accessible on Microsoft Stream afterwards, so they could refer back to them in other lessons and they could be rewatched, which is a real advantage of doing these sorts of things. These sorts of videos are things that moving forwards in classroom practices, this is something I'll definitely be doing in the future, to have these things in a bank of resources that can be accessed not just by the children, but by the teachers as well. And here's an example how the children at home could all share their work. We've got an example of a Kingfisher project, which is sort of an environmental project that the Year 4 children were working on, and an example of their cooking there. He looks very happy with his pavlova there. He's the child on the screen there. And they love this because they can comment on other children's work, as well as the teachers can comment on it as well. So it's a really nice way of celebrating successes at home as well. Something I did as the art teacher, because lots of the children were posting up their artwork, it's really nice to collect it together and actually reflect and see different approaches and the creative responses that the children had. So what I would do is take the pictures out of the chats and edit it together to make a little video. So I'll just show the little video on the screen. This is an example. This is also a really nice way to keep the school community going during the time of virtual schools, where a child feels like it's still part of this community, still got that daily interaction with their peers and their teachers, and all the successes are celebrated. Okay, so that's the end of my little introduction, and I don't know if there's any questions, but I'm happy to answer any questions if there's any there on the board. If not, then I will pass you over to Beth, who's going to do the next bit.
Thank you, Chloe. So I don't think we've got any questions at the moment, but please do make use of the Q&A feature in the chat panel, guys, and Chloe and I, like she said, will both be very happy to elaborate on anything we've said and answer any extra questions that you do have. So thank you for that, Chloe. That was a really lovely session there, and hopefully I'll be able to build upon a few things that you said, as well as share some of my own experience as a teacher who's currently class-based at the moment. So hello everyone, my name is Bethany Shooter, and yeah, thank you for choosing to be here with us today to carry on thinking about digital tools and inking to support the wider curriculum. So like Chloe said, I'll be moving forward to show you a bit more of how we've made use of these digital tools in order to uphold and deliver our curriculum throughout virtual school and now into blended learning. So as I said, I am a class-based teacher at the moment. I'm in Year 2 at Broadclist, and this timetable that you can see on the screen now is an example of one of our weekly timetables of online learning from just last month. When we were planning our virtual school, our aim was to make possible a timetable that was well-rounded and remained consistent with our pre-COVID-19 school week with regards to the wide array of curriculum content delivered. And over the last couple of months, we have been able to maintain this 9 till 3:30 daily timetable, which from the very first week of school closures back in March has been maintained and really helps to bring forward a sense of structure and stability and routine for both our parents and our students alike. Now, it is without doubt an ambitious timetable for a virtual school, or now more appropriately a blended learning approach, but it is possible. As you might expect, it's already undergone over the last few months many changes. We quite quickly realised after a week or two the benefit of streamlining the afternoon to one teacher inputted session rather than two, what it had been before, just to allow the pupils some independent time to complete any task, as they all do, as you know, work at different paces, and also not to overwhelm the parents or the children with the expectation in terms of lessons for just one day. So one thing that we've received an awful lot of positive feedback around is the clear routine that providing this timetable has created for parents. As tempting as no school might sound for students and perhaps parents too, too much time and equally too much room to interpretate the day can become boring for children and can become more difficult for parents to manage. Another one of the most common pieces of feedback that we've received has just been a real widespread appreciation of the breadth of the timetable, the balance of subjects spread across the week, which allows all of the children to continue experiencing their own favourite subjects. Apologies, guys. Just going to make sure that I share my audio because I have got a little video for you guys in a second too. So you may have noticed the large number of different teacher names that were listed to be delivering all of those lessons within 1 week. And that was made a little bit easier for, oh, sorry, my PowerPoint has just completely closed. Wouldn't be a live event with at least one little technical issue. Sorry, bear with me. Okay. Sorry about that. And sorry, I think you were seeing my presenter view earlier, so hopefully that's gone back to normal for you.
Just as you're doing that then, Beth, I'll just get my camera up again. There's a question that's come in that I'm happy to answer. So there's a question that says, what did you use to speed up your videos? Well, actually, like I said before, I used Microsoft Movie Maker. It's a really simple tool that you can use. And if you split your piece of video up, there is up in the options tab, there is a speed up button to click. It is that easy. The last couple of videos I've made, I've ventured into, as my confidence has grown, because it's not something I would do normally on a daily basis, and this is just with virtual schools that you acquire these new skills. I've started to use Adobe Premiere, where there are a lot more options in that. Really nice as well, because when you're talking to your phone, I'm now pointing to the air and I can get pictures to come up and I can indicate words. I was still doing that through Movie Maker, but I was cutting up my clips and positioning one in front of the other. So there are lots of other apps that are out there that you can use. And I think the results would be pretty similar. The children have been really engaged with these videos. And it's really nice being able to share the links with them and getting that feedback from the children. You can really tell the engagement, what sorts of activities the children like. Now we're in this blended learning approach, and actually getting the feedback from the teachers has been really nice as well in doing these lessons. And when it comes to creative arts, adults often have very similar responses to children, because some adults won't have, from my experience, some adults won't have drawn a picture since they were 11 years old and they left primary school. So sometimes you are pushing adults out of their comfort zone just as much as children, and the responses are very similar. Which I said before, I try and think of two different types of activity. So one being a very structured, they love a step-by-step drawing thing, which if I'm looking at how to teach line and shape, I'm happy to give them that element of structure, but I will balance that then by having a really creative activity as well, because then you're looking at the breadth of what you're doing. You're giving them support, but you're also giving them freedom to experiment and explore, which is part of the art and design process. Obviously, within art and design, part of the process is also collaboration and talking and thinking. Another program that I really like to use is Flipgrid. And we've had a few different talks and presentations about Flipgrid over the last few days. It's something that I like to use quite a lot, because talking about art and the creative arts, and actually learning the language of art, is something in itself. Being able to learn the vocabulary that you can discuss different works of art is something that children actually find really difficult to do. I set a Flipgrid just a couple of days ago to a group of children, and the first question I asked them was, describe this piece of art. And actually for them to articulate is really, really difficult. And even if you say, just say what you see in front of them, they find it really difficult. 11-year-old finds it really difficult. So part of the education of art is by teaching them how to respond to the world around them, by giving them the vocabulary skills they need to be able to talk about things and discuss things. And that goes to different crafts, different cultures, and the wider curriculum as well. It's all part and parcel of the same thing. So there's loads of different things that you can use. I find Flipgrid a really, really interesting one, because I can pose a question. If you're not familiar with Flipgrid, I can pose a question to the children, and then I ask for a video response, and the children will have a limited amount of time that they can video themselves speaking, and that's the key. They have to articulate themselves and use the language to be able to talk about their ideas. And the nice thing about the creative arts is also that you can't be wrong. A lot of it is about expression and talking about your view on the world, and being able to listen and see others' views on the world as well, and be able to take that in. So there's all sorts of different skills involved there. Okay, I wonder if Beth managed to get her PowerPoint.
I'm just trying to actually send it across to Luke, who's going to share it for me. So I will do all the talking, but my computer just doesn't seem to want me to let me show you my PowerPoint. So I will carry on talking, and Luke will put the pictures up for you as they come for him. But thank you for that, Chloe.
All right.
So what I was just talking through beforehand was the fact that on our timetable, one of the ways we're able to deliver the wide curriculum that we are is through collaboration and making use of these digital tools to enable that collaboration. As Chloe's mentioned, we are a trust, which means in each year group we have a team of 5, 6 teachers perhaps, who all work within the same year group across the 3 schools. So we knew when we were planning our virtual school that having all of those staff members each replicating the same lesson at the same time to each of their classes would be poor time management for everyone involved, and that actually we could collaborate and share the workload by establishing a system that works for everybody. So across the trust, it can be any one member of the teaching team who work within the same year group who will deliver the lessons on a rotation. And the other adults will still join those live lessons, but take more of an attendee role and be ready to pick up on any misconceptions or to support their own classes following a lesson input. So the mornings take shape with a maths and a writing lesson, and as Chloe said, the afternoon slots are filled with our wider curriculum subjects, and these happen on a 3-week rotating timetable, which was a system that we established again at the start of virtual learning. So this means that we have a huge breadth of our afternoon subjects. I mean, you've seen on the slide previously that I showed you in just 1 week, the children had art, health and well-being, PE, coding, science, cooking. We really play to our strength in terms of the number of specialists and adults that we do have here. And if you put yourselves in the shoes of a learner whose favourite subject is one of these wider curriculum areas, the impact that continuing to provide these lessons will have for their feelings towards school, for their mental well-being and their perception of our value as teachers that we're awarding these wider curriculum subjects. And that's hugely significant. We don't want to send a message to our learners that maths and English are the only subjects of worth, because for many, many children, these subjects fall second or third or fifth to perhaps a great coding lesson or a drama lesson, science or cookery or anything else. And another really important digital tool for us at Cornerstone is OneNote. And we here consider OneNote our digital whiteboard, and that's for both teachers and for students. With a Surface Pen, you can start writing anywhere on the page without having to select a thing. You can use the Draw tab in the ribbon to change the colour and the thickness of the pen before or after writing. And you can also turn your handwritten notes into typed text by selecting the text and freehanding, and then it will convert your text into typed letters, which, as you can imagine, is really helpful for things like copy and pasting handwritten notes into other applications. And you can also do the same with drawing shapes too. So digital inking is a really useful tool for teachers during lessons to record student contributions, to make notes of key vocabulary, and to make various annotations to the page. And students will also use digital inking to record their own ideas in a lesson as well. And I was going to show you a quick demonstration of Microsoft Whiteboard, but just looking at the time and just with the couple of issues that I've had with sharing my screen with you guys, I probably won't do that live demonstration, but I'll just talk you through really briefly some of the stuff that you could do with Microsoft Whiteboard. So Microsoft Whiteboard is an Office 365 app, which means it's available in the Office App Store for you. You might be thinking, why would we need another whiteboard app when I've just said that we as a trust use OneNote as our digital whiteboard? So a couple of the benefits to Microsoft Whiteboard is when you are collaborating, and whether that is as a teacher who is leading independently a lesson input, or whether you're a teacher who's leading an input where you've got children wanting to make their own contributions, or if you're a child working within a group of other children, your contributions to the whiteboard appear in real time, a little bit quicker than OneNote. And sometimes in OneNote, when you're multi-authoring, there can be sort of conflict pages that do arise. So it just runs a little bit smoother in Whiteboard for collaboration. And there's also a lot of really good features in there which we don't have in OneNote. Things like you can do ink to table, where you can draw with a Surface Pen freehand so quickly a table of any size. You can add columns and rows just by drawing freehand lines, which, you know, lots of you out there listening will be teachers. Drawing tables is one of the most painful things that I've ever done with children, so that's amazing. You can insert PowerPoints, you can insert Word documents, and you can do loads of cool stuff. So go away and have a little look at Microsoft Whiteboard if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in. So moving back to the team's subject channels, so Chloe mentioned these with you earlier, just about how we're able to stay connected with our students, even now that the phased return to school has started. With the blended learning approach, we still have a huge volume of children accessing the learning from home. So we use these teams to guide children in creating their outcomes and to also appreciate the final products that they share with us. So Teams is our learning platform, and within Teams we have those channels, and they work a little bit like individual news feeds in Facebook, which allow the members to add posts, files. So we've had children attaching PowerPoints and Word documents, videos and pictures. And there are other ways that our children use these channels too. They provide a safe space for students to ask questions following an input, or to seek some support if they need following an input. And as you can see down the left-hand panel there, we have one of these channels established for each of the curriculum subjects. One tip is that it's quite important to have your TAs involved with this and able to respond to questions throughout the day. Although we have had to more recently make our students aware that responses via Teams throughout the day with the phased return to school might be a little bit delayed, but they're also quite good with their collaboration in supporting each other in Teams too. So the last thing I'll talk to you about is just the digital tools for lesson outcomes. Aside from the fact we're focusing on the wider curriculum, holistically, it's really important that whatever the subject, children are exposed to the opportunity to create lesson outcomes in a range of formats, including digital tools, for obvious reasons. They also are hugely important, the fact that we are now in a largely online learning environment. So creating lesson outcomes with digital tools is obviously super helpful for children. So for us, these have included OneNote personal notebook areas, which live within the class notebook. Of course, more well-known Office 365 apps, which are Word, PowerPoint, for example, or the lesser-known Microsoft Sway and Forms, which allow children to really exercise their creativity when creating their content. So just to finish, a broad and balanced curriculum provides children with the skills and knowledge that they need to develop into well-rounded individuals. And it's through good digital tools and even better collaboration that we're going to make this possible. A narrowed curriculum is going to restrict children's aspirations, their life choices and their opportunities. And it's through a rich, varied diet of curriculum experiences that is the best way to develop well-rounded, happy individuals, as I'm sure you'll agree. So thank you for listening, and Chloe and I will be happy to answer any remaining questions that we've got now. I'm just checking on the Q&A, and it looks like we don't actually have anything come in. So we'll hang around for another couple of minutes, guys, but thank you all so much for listening, and hopefully the fact that there's no questions means that that was adequately informative for you all. Do get in touch if there is anything else, we'd be really happy to help.
Thank you both. That was really great, and I think a lot of that will be that it was just so informative.
Let's hope so.
Yeah. So thank you, and yeah, as Beth said, any questions, do feel free to drop them in now, and we can answer them as best we can.
Thank you, Vicky.
Thank you.